Welcome back to the PCS. We are headed into our last game of the day. It is going to be DCG taking on Meta Falcon Team. And before we dive into it, of course, thank our sponsor, CDBC Bank. They're the ones that keep the lights on. And then, of course, Riot Games, Carry Live Co, and Garena for making things possible. All right, Jenny, we're finally here on the last game. I know for you it's been a long day. For me, it's been four very short games, or 3 very short games, about to be a 4th one. What are your thoughts? What do you want to say about MFT DCG?
I'm pretty excited for this one. I mean, today we've just had a whole bunch of creative games, right? We just saw 8th place playoff versus 10th place. We also saw 2 very even teams with Frank versus BYG.
All of them one-sided, though.
Well, I mean, look, I'm trying to talk up a storyline here, Frank. Jeez, cut me some slack. Right. Jeez. So, DCG versus Meta Falcon Team. On paper, it might look like it will be easy face roll for DCG from start to end, but I think that MFT do have a bit of wiggle room to try and show us something creative. Whether or not it's going to be like the Nocturne that they picked last week, that was not it. But, I just like that. Your face. Come on. We gotta give these teams some hope, Frank. We gotta give all the fans who stuck with us till, well, it's only 8 p.m. Till now, through all 5 weeks of PCS summer, we gotta give them something to look forward to. And for me, that's just gonna be the draft that MFT might come up with.
Look, if MFT bring up a spicy draft, I'm all for it. Just not the Nocturne. That pick did not work out. Maybe if they change some pieces around it, but starting out on the blue side, it's going to be DCG, Deep Cross Gaming. They haven't made any lineup changes. It's still starting 5 that we've seen all year round. And they are probably one of the hottest teams coming into this week. They've looked really, really strong the past couple weeks, along with CFO and with PSG. They haven't stumbled with like losing games, but they have looked a little bit shaky in game once we get on the Rift. And DCG, CFO trying to build upon their momentum as of yet to maybe threaten PSG up at the top.
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise, of course, coming into Summer Split was just how good of a performance that DCG was going to put up this summer, because in Spring Split, they look like a solid 4th place team, right? Behind PSG, CFO, and then J Team that they also lost to during the playoffs. So it's just a bit of a surprise coming into Summer, especially when you consider the fact that I think it was DCG that had that upset loss versus Dewish team as well. If they hadn't actually dropped that one game, they would be beating CFO in the standings on the leaderboard also. So really props to them for coming out of the gate strong during the Summer Split. Meanwhile, NFT roster on your screens: Taco665, home to Whale, as well as Issue, who has in the past kind of shown that he is a bit of an issue sometimes on this team. But
Jenny,
yes,
I thought we weren't
Frank.
going to call him out.
What
happened to building a storyline?
We were going to call a spade and call an issue an issue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
look, my man named himself that, right? If you name yourself like Feeder or like Inter, I mean, it's really not my fault.
Okay. All right, Jenny. But we're going to take a look at the mid lane matchup. Home to stepping in for Wen, I think has been a really big plus for the side of MFT. A lot of his champion pool, while it feels like it might be a little bit limited, but it feels like it's a better meta fit than what Wen has brought to the table so far. However, like Nesty, this meta has really played towards him, right? It's a lot of these champions he can play pretty comfortably. The Swain, Talia, Silas. Yes, he's not 1v1 killing anyone, but when you have to deal with his Talia, I think this is a pick that has to be taken away or banned. There has to be some sort of attention because teams just haven't figured out how to play against Talia in these dragon fights.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. I think that the last few patches, pretty much from 12.11 to 12.13, have worked in favor of DCG and that they have helped to mask and kind of patch up Nesty's weaknesses. In Spring Split, you know, he was like trying to pick things like Bard, go get funky and creative to try and mask the fact that he's pretty much a roaming side lane type of mid laner. You don't play Nesty for presence in lane. So the fact that champs such as Talia, Galio, Swain are really strong in the last couple of weeks have really helped to push DCG to that next level. So far, none of those champs that we talked about actually on the ban table just yet. Yep, there's gonna be the Slain, Gnar, Azir, as well as Kalista. Not available this time around. So there's still Poppy Trundle, there's Jerry, there is Aphelios, there's Sivir, there are a whole bunch of options still left open, Frank.
Yeah, and for the side of MFT, we'll see what this last ban is going to be, because I fully expect it to be the Talia, and if that is the case, of course, we have more than likely it's either going to be an Aphelios Jinx swap or a Zeri Sivir combination swapped, and it will be Poppy actually taken away. So it feels like for DCG, this should be, well, I was going to say it should be a Talia lock-in, but maybe they just value the Yuumi a lot more. Yuumi, of course, very, very strong in these team fights. We didn't get to see it earlier today pay off as well for the side of Beyond Gaming, but I think it was a lot of other things felt like went wrong in that BYG besides that Yuumi pick.
Yeah, I think DCG's thinking right here is that both Sivir as well as Jerry are still open, so they're happy to take whichever one that MFT don't pick up right here and combo that with the Yuumi, because Yuumi is strong with either champion. Of course, Sivir Yuumi bit broken right now. You really get all that help from Yuumi, and yeah, MFT look like they're going to be taking that one away from DCG. I think Sivir has just a bit more wiggle room, a bit more options in terms of support pool, so should be a jungler pickup from DCG, although they could go for something like Talia and then maybe Sinja, maybe Trundle in response to this one. Zeri Talia also would be good for them if they don't mind the jungle pool getting pinched.
Yeah, I would tend to think that the Zeri Talia will be the combination. Of course, you're not super worried about the bans to come out in the second phase if you do go ahead and leave Nesty's pool for that second phase, but the Talia has just been such a dominating pick for DCG that does feel like it's a no-brainer. They'll lock that one in. For MFT, be interesting what they lock in on this pick, because the current hover is onto the Nautilus. Nautilus, a classic counter to the Zeri, even though Zeri hasn't been out for very long, but because of the point and click ultimate, it helps alleviate some of the annoyance of trying to lock down a Zeri in some of these later game team fights.
Yeah, you really picked the Nautilus ultimate to just get that 100% confirmed, like, disrupt the knockup onto the Zeri at some point during the team fight. Sivir, Nautilus, kind of alright. I think what MFT are going for is also the synergy between Wukong and Nautilus and whatever they pick for the rest of their composition. So they've banned out the Trundle, they banned out the Poppy earlier on. There's the Ahri being banned away from Home 2. We haven't really seen Home 2 show a lot of mid-lane champions. We haven't seen Home 2 show good performances on that many mid-lane champions, I think is a bit more accurate. So there's the Ahri being taken away from him. Azir not on the table either. Talia, there aren't that many good options I think left for Home 2 to play versus the Talia. There's maybe like Galio, Victor, Lissandra. Oh, she's just been banned too.
Yeah, I would have loved to see the Lissandra here, because it just creates so much space with the Wukong for then the Sivir to really pop off, but that won't happen. And more than likely we get to see the mid lane pick come out here for Home 2. Veigar has been sort of his champion that he falls back on, but it will be the Seraphine. Okay. a lot of control to come out for these team fights, and DCG, what do they go ahead and answer back with? That's the real question. Lee Sin available, that could be a very interesting tempo sort of oriented pick. The Xin, I feel like, offers more team fight power here just to create more space. And we'll see if it gets locked in.
Yeah, I think they might for Hana because Hana has played this in Zhao a bunch of times. It kind of suits Hana's playstyle also. He kind of really knows when to engage, when to go and carve that space up and set up the rest of his team. So what will be the lock in for them? They are missing a top laner right now. They're kind of forced to blind pick the top side. The thing is, Nar's gone. There's Sejuani. Oh, Gwen for Leaky. Gwen's really strong on 12-13 too. Oh, it's Mordekaiser.
Right, there's Mordekaiser, but Jax has been the counter pick when Gwen does get locked in, so that could also be an alternative. MFT really trying to choose between the Mordekaiser and the Gwen. Mordekaiser does offer that big ultimate, so you know, if you get an angle onto the Zeri, you can just abduct her straight out of the team fight, and I think that might be the plan. You have a lot of point and click power, right? You throw down the ultimate from the Nautilus onto the champion, and then right afterwards it allows Mordekaiser to gap close. But I mean, this is definitely a very interesting draft coming in from both ends here. So how do you feel about this?
So I'm pretty intrigued by the Mordekaiser pick. I think a lot of times in the past, well, not that many times has been Pixify and PCS, but we've seen it as just a straight up ADC deny for the squads that do pick it. So they just kind of want to lock Zeri in prison and then deny the ADC from having that sustained damage. The thing is, this time around, MFT have more options. They can choose to utilize the Mordekaiser ultimate 1v1 versus the Gwen in the top side also. And the fact that we're on 12.13, where right now the way that people play Gwen is so different. She's kind of no longer that late game scaling tank where she just goes in during team fight, she snips, she's immune, she like dishes out damage. She's no longer quite that on 12-13. Right now, she's a bit more bursty. Her kit has kind of been reworked in terms of the cooldowns, the mana cost. Right now, it's kind of like she goes in, she drops one round of spells. The center snip no longer does as much damage, but her first round is definitely very devastating. So it would also open up MFT to kind of just bait out the Mordekaiser out to lock the Gwen in 1v1 up top as well. So I'm kind of feeling the Mord pick. You know, usually in the past when MFT's like Mordekaiser or Nocturne, we're like, is this really gonna work out from them? But I think that if they can play it out well, it just might.
Yeah, and also another thing about Mordekaiser, right, is if Yuumi is on a target, you ult the target that the Yumi's sitting on, and the Yuumi is stuck, sitting out in the middle of nowhere. Because Yuumi does not get to come and join the Shadow Realm. So that could be the reason why they ended up settling on the Mordekaiser over the Jax as well. So a lot of interesting things to think about, but we're making our way onto the Rift, Jenny, and this is our last game of the night.
Sheesh. Sorry, I was just a bit excited. I heard the last game of the night, and you know, I'm pumped. I'm hyped. This is a great game. You know, we saw some one-sided games earlier, right? We're not gonna lie. We're not gonna sugarcoat it. But DCG, MFT. Oh no, this is not how it starts. Taco, please. Walk it off. Walk it off. Oh, thank God. That was not how I wanted this last game to start off, Frank.
He is walking. He is a big lumbering armor man, and they do spot out the ward that does get tossed down onto the red buff. 665 of course has the red trinket to sweep it out, so once it comes off a cooldown, I expect them to kill that ward, which is going to help out Taco here because it does mean he's going to hit level 2 off of this first minion wave.
Yeah, so we'll get the level 2 advantage. Talking about level 2 advantage, Misty shouldn't have a problem picking up most of the first wave. He's still Q over at the level 1. Bit of a rework also, bit of a slight nerf, I think, to Leah on 12-13, just in terms of the damage. They got her 1-5 and then Boulder. Works, but it's not gonna matter all that much. I think versus the Seraphine and Elena, should be quite easy for the wave clear, but whoa! Issue, no follow-up though after landing that Q.
Of course, not quite enough damage early on, but Taco! Man, this man is going to town. He is bringing it to Leaky up to the top lane. Both of these top laners are flashless, so that is something to try and keep track of, because it does mean they are susceptible to ganks. Although after level 6 for Taco, he doesn't really care if you bring 2 or 3 people up top lane, because he can just have his 1v1 regardless.
I just realized that these two top laners, like their IDs combined, are like Leaky Taco, which is literally the worst type of taco you could ever have. Like that's like a solid 0 out of 10.
I mean, if Wako was a top laner, we could have Wako Taco.
Oh my god, Waku Waku.
Yeah.
We just weebin in here. I don't know. It's late.
I mean, it's late for you. It's early.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
It's gotta be what, 6 in the morning for you?
7 a.m. That's
You're a champ. I didn't know how you cast from like 2 to like 7 in the morning.
that's my time zone
Actually
here.
correct.
Sheesh. And I mean, as of now, there's not a lot happening, right? It's just kind of farming. We're waiting for these junglers to try and get involved. For 665, of course, is the level 3 power spike for Wukong, and if any jungler or if any laner dies to a level 3 Wukong gank, shame on you. As 665 is possibly setting up a trap topside. We'll see if Leaky falls.
Yeah, they got 1 second
It's a
push to the
2v2.
Northern River. Hana is here. Oh, he's in the fog of war. They don't know 665 is here. They're just trying to bait Leaky towards the right side. Leaky's also kind of trying to posture, hoping Taco doesn't realize Hana is there.
They're both trying to bait for their jungler.
Yo.
And it's both unsuccessful.
I mean, they aren't amateurs, you know, Frank. They're not your average idiot that you meet in solo queue who sees the jungler come in and then sorry, I just have so much PTSD, you know, from this happening, so much baggage.
COVID Jenny hits different, folks.
Yikes.
665 will get spotted out by that ward by the Raptors.
Yeah, this is a great word from Hana. As you're mentioning, there's not all that much happening early on. I think a lot of both teams really just waiting for 6 for the big ultimates to come online. The Mordekaiser, Wukong Sinjao also at 6. You're kind of waiting for Nesty for Talia to use the ultimate, the Weaver's Wall, for a side lane roam. We've seen him do that a lot. I mean, sure, it's great for team fights, it's great for cutting people off, but we also see him use it a lot in terms of faster roam into the side lane. Meanwhile, of course, Dairy versus Silverbot is just going to be a farm fest to see who hits that 300 first. So yeah, not all that action as of now.
Yeah, and for MFT, they do have a very strong team fight setup, right? Okay, level 6 hit by Taco, and he's just running at Leaky, hoping to find an opening and just throw down the ultimate or at least get a big chunk, knowing that, hey, I have ult advantage, and Leaky has to respect that, has to give a lot of space over, and Taco feels like this wave in a perfect position for him at the moment, as MFT, they actually don't pull the trigger on that dragon. A little bit surprised there, but, you know, hey, let's not flip the game when Taco is just bodying Leaky right now.
Yeah, I think maybe they're a bit worried about where Hana might be. He's over at, I think, second blue just now. He's over on blue buff. They didn't really have wards, so they do have mid as well as bot side. awarded for the squad of MFT. I think they're just content to take Scuttle and then not try and lose at the 6-minute early dragon. So very measured from them. They do have a very slight gold lead off of DCG, about 1,200 gold. That's purely kind of from the CS difference that we're seeing across the board, most notably mid, and then a couple of CS here and there, except for bottom side. So still a pretty quiet game, I think, but now that we have hit level 6, things might just be different.
Yeah, might speed things up, especially once these junglers hit level 6. That could be really the big turning point, or when these supports hit level 6, of course, that offers a lot of pick power, team fight power when it comes to the Yumi, pick potential when it comes to the Nautilus ultimate. And Hong2 so far very comfortable on the Seraphine, as it will be the Xin hopping over the wall. This would be a nice takeaway if they can get it, because it would deny that first team fight at level 6 for the side of MFT, which is pretty strong combo. And yeah, Wukong being up in the top side does mean that this is going to be a dragon into the hands of DCG, a nice little sneak away.
Yeah, very nice from them. I think MFT really only had the one pink ward over on mid side, but I think they didn't notice the way that Hana was actually pathing towards the dragon, and that's actually going to give them the opportunity for him to try and steal this blue buff away. There is a red ward for red ward over in the bush right there. Will initially look like they want to try something. It's just going to be a Q poking over the wall, not all that much damage right now. I think the damage on a Q did go down, especially in the early ranks on 12-13, but Plant gonna spot out Leaky. 665 just kind of posturing. It's gonna be a smite fight. Oh wait, no, it's active win.
I mean, it is a smite fight, I guess.
It's a fight. It is a fight.
Yeah, and now 665 is actually setting up for a possible dive attempt here. This is really interesting. He's gonna take away the Gromp instead, actually, as Hong2 looked like he wanted to make his way over. But I think the decision was made. Hey, we're just going to go ahead, back off. I want to get my reset in as the Mordekaiser. And it's just going to be a back timer. So DCG, they managed to sneak away that first dragon, and MFT, while they were able to get the Rift Herald, they don't immediately try and capitalize after that. So
yeah, they don't have shove or prior really going on in any wave, so there's not really a good opportunity for them to pop the Shelly into any lane. They do have about 4.5 minutes until they won't have the tower plate advantage, so they've got still a bit of time, you know, before tower plates and Shelly expire, for them to try to make that happen. It's just a bit hard for them. We're not really, like, Mordekaiser isn't quite gonna get the early shove versus Gwen. Seraphine could maybe drop all their spells, but it's also a bit difficult versus Talia to try and get shove.
yeah, and we see a teleport coming in from Nessie to return into that mid lane. So when it comes to throwing down this Rift Herald, which lane do you think it's going to be? Do you think it's going to be top, or do you think it's going to be bot lane? Or maybe the Silver pick, maybe unlock things and get the Nautilus roaming, or maybe they don't even care about that bot lane. I feel like it has to be this top side, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've got 3 members over on mid right now. Would be nice if they could try to make something happen versus Leaky's Gwen over up top, but I think it depends on just how much they prio the dragon setup that's going to come online in 2 minutes. They could very well just look to drop Shelly and then dragon for it later on over in mid, or not. So Hana and Yumi gonna pay a visit to going to. Oh, she is knocked back, forced to flash.
The knockback lands, but unfortunately, MST doesn't get the Unraveled Earth lined up in a nice spot that they are able to actually get the stun and then chain it into a kill. So missed execution there coming in from Nesty, and
Bunch of
continuing.
Yep,
Just
top.
smack away at that top side, and timer is ticking, you know, 90 seconds until the next dragon. I think that's when we should see, of course, MFT try and make a play with this Rift Herald. So still a little bit of freedom. And now we're going to see 665 take away the Scuttle Crab.
I love
get
the
a little extra gold.
I love the change that. Oh, the double knockback! There's not quite. Oh, it wasn't his clone. Anyway, there's not quite follow-up onto the Wukong. However, he's just gonna walk up that one pretty healthy. Pops the potion as well, but good job on this.
It's gonna be a mid.
Ward that just expired, and yep, they're gonna drop it over in mid. It's 45 seconds.
Oh, teleport coming
in.
Mordekaiser are coming in with the teleport. This is what? I don't.
What?
I'm very confused because Taco, he's just walking back top lane, but
Taco top? Yeah, it sounds about right.
Jenny, explain the teleport to me.
So Dragon was up in 45 seconds. I think MFT, what they wanted to do was they wanted to get Prio mid, they wanted to get Shelly, maybe knock like 2 plates, 2 charges maybe onto the mid side tier 1, and then use that shove to rotate into a Dragon. But I think it was probably about 30 seconds too early for that play. They kind of saw blood because they had 2 versus 1 after MFT didn't have VE available already. So I think just a bit of an antsy play from MFT. I like that they seem like they want to contest the second Dragon. However, that's a point of contention that we were talking about in our previous game, that teams weren't contesting second Dragon enough. So I like that MFT are already here and going for the setup.
Yeah, but they don't have the teleport from their top lane.
Yeah.
There's no Mordekaiser that's going to show up to this fight, and what do you know? Leaky is walking down into this bottom lane. This fight has to be played perfectly by the side of MFT, and it gets stolen away! Alright, the ultimate does come in, lands onto only one, and it's Hana, and 665 is getting taken so low. Will get the flash out of Cascada, but that is first blood going into the hands of Nesty and DCG. Looking for more. Cascada comes over the wall, and they just wipe the floor with the side of MFT. Jenny?
Yikes. Yikes. I think
help me out here.
What we want to say about this. So we're gonna take a look at the replay. Right? The thing is, the bad thing for MFT is that they're usually a team fight team. They're usually the team that doesn't do well during laning, but then shows up during the team fight. So Home 2, I think, only gets the charm onto Hana as well as the Yumi. It doesn't really have a lot of impact. I think MFT just really caught on the back foot and just forced to back out of that one. And I think kind of not on the same page with what they wanted to do, especially at the start of the fight. I think Home 2 was forced to like panic press the Seraphine ultimate, but didn't really have the best setup or position for that. And the thing is, for MFT's composition, you know, you have the Nautilus, which is kind of like a secondary engage, is kind of like a deny the Zeri from team fight. So you really need the Wukong to go in first, and then get the knock up, and then it's just about the follow up from Seraphine, from Nautilus, right? But that just didn't happen during this team fight.
Alright, so if you're MFT, where do you go from here?
Home? Sorry. So,
what?
Home? No, we're only 15 minutes in. They got a chance. They still got a chance. They ain't given up just yet. They're going to go over to Shelly. No. No. Yeah, so they get Shelly. They're going to hopefully try to make better use of it this time around. However, they are losing Prio in top mid as well as bot. So most options in terms of the next Dragon fight.
That's an ultimate.
Oh,
this is a 1v1. I think Taco's winning it. He doesn't even throw out the skill shot. He just bops him. But
Hana is doing topside. There's the Q. Oh, it lands.
Got Woody coming in. I mean, there's no escape. There's no escape.
Dead.
He is a big dead. And 665, I mean, he's got his support coming in. The issue is he's a level down. So he's missing those stats. And when you're taking a 2v2 or, you know, against a Yuumi, the Yuumi just heals so much in some of these fights that, yeah.
Yeah, that
Definitely don't
heal's
want to go for that.
pretty sick. I'm glad that, we've kind of moved away from the patch where staff was like just absolutely broken on like Yumi, on Seraphine. We've kind of moved away from that. The thing is, Yumi is still pretty disgusting. The later the game gets, the more her heals are going to scale also. So that's always going to be hard for MFT to try and deal against. DCG will pick up the top river Scuttle. Misty just farming out jungle because why not? He deserves it. I mean, I haven't really seen him create a lot of side lane pressure. He did have the ghost early on, he switched it for heal, but kind of the like the couple minutes where it was running that ghost, he didn't really go into the side lanes that much, so a bit disappointing. He is level 12 already, so there's not as big of a window for him to make use of the roaming Talia. But I mean, the rest of his team have been doing great, right? They're more than 2,000 gold up. They look like completely just chasing away Taco from the lane swap over here. He's still caught in the 1v1. There's Apatsias versus Leaky, but kind of, yeah, we saw him win the 1v1 when he walked Gwen in, but the rest of his team just not doing as well. Misty right now forced to use Mover's Wall to back out, actually. Oh no.
See ya.
Laters.
Yeah, that's Nesty going to just go ahead, give up that top tower. No problem. They already have Herald anyway, so not much you can do about that one. And the interesting part about the Talia in the hands of Nesty has been really the fact that he doesn't really actually roam with the Talia pick and use it to aggressively make plays in the side lane. He'll either use it to get to the fight from sort of like a quirky package tool, or it really is very much a divider to set up for these dragon fights. And Leaky possibly caught out. Here's the whole squad. No. Leaky is immune, remember that, but the charm does land and Leaky will fall. 665 gets the kill. That's a nice two-man play, but they will give up third dragon. DCG onto Soul Point.
Yeah, R into Soul. At least the good thing for MFT, it's three different drags. DCG don't have any of the double stack of any one particular Drake, but we're also seeing just 12-13 Gwen. Right, she's just not tanky anymore. She's not as tanky, especially 1v2, 1v3. She can't easily escape even after she pops down the immune. Like, we don't see her being able to make it out of those fights. So the fact that Leaky's 0-2 in what we were saying, Gwen has to play that type of like bursty mage, get her first round of spells down and then dip. She's just not able to play that when you're this far behind, right? So she's got the Rift Maker, but she doesn't really have the type of AP items that she will need to play that type of bursty mage. The thing is that she does build like that though. DCG don't quite have a front line either. Oh, again, Taco versus Leaky. Wet noodle fight? Come on. Yes? No?
I mean,
no? Yes?
It's sort of a wet noodle fight as Taco takes him into the death realm. Home 2 is here though to capitalize, but it doesn't look like he needs his help. Taco gets the 1v1. There is no Leaky. It's just the Taco. And the Gwen not having a good time.
Yeah, Leaky just being the biggest hole for his team right now. And yeah, that's all, man. He's not having a good time. Also, the fact that DCG picked the Gwen over in like second last rotation for their side, I just kind of expected a bit better from Leaky on 12-13 Gwen, because she's supposed to be very strong, but right now collapse happening down bot. Taco knows that he has to use the teleport for the faster get out of jail, and it's not going to cost them all that much. Next dragon is 3 minutes, so Baron's up, but it's 2-1 minutes. It's very early for any possible Baron take, so it's not going to cost as much. So yeah, doesn't really hurt either side.
And right now, let's have a quick check-in on everyone's inventory. And in this top side, it's Taco now with a completed 2 items. That is big. having the Nash's Tooth for the 1v1. And when it comes to the other carries, though, they're also doing pretty well for themselves. We've got completed 2 items in both of their hands for all these carries. Home 2, Archangel's Crown, interestingly enough. There's not necessarily a ton of poke coming in, so maybe that's the angle he's really approaching this. And then the big thing is the fact that Whale has 2 items completed onto the Sivir. Of course, 3 makes him really pop, but 2 is definitely nothing to scoff at either, right?
Yeah, like Crown plus the Seraphs, it really just means that Home 2 is kind of going to play as that like heal and CC bot, right? He's kind of going for that more like support, mid, Seraphine type of build. He wants to enable his carries, hopefully for Whale to show up. Bit of a skirmish right here over in this mid tier 2.
Fight for the ward.
I mean, Vision's enduring, man. Like, whenever you press tab and then you realize, like, your ADC has literally 0 vision score, and you're like, wow, do you even have hands? Like, I mean, do you have eyes? Like, is that what's going on? Is vision just not important because you can't see? Like, what is going on? So,
going hard to the paint.
So, you know, it's just great that these teams are prioritizing their vision control. I mean, like, he doesn't know who Taco's in this ward, right? But he's gonna play it safe also. So yeah, good self-control. Oh,
everyone's coming now.
Bring in the cat.
3v1. Can Taco do this? Of course, he still has the ultimate, so that's not going to be an issue. The jump in happens. The ult goes down, and now it's a 1v1 with Hana, and Hana is going to not drop as Hana will come out with the 1v1 victory. I do not believe it, but Taco also... Was it just me, or did he just hold on to his ultimate? Did he not have ult?
Hana. I'm maintain that Hana's like top 3 jungler in the PCS. He's also so good at the smite fights at Baron to like flip game that we haven't seen yet, but I'm sure we'll see a lot of in playoffs. But I don't think I get a replay of that one. It did look as if Taco maybe didn't hit his ultimate, but regardless.
That's soul! This is soul!
Oh, they're not gonna contest! Yo! Do something, MFT!
Needs to try and make something happen, but unfortunately, he's out by himself. The rotation's not there from the rest of his team, and MFT.
That was such a good Weaver's Wall from Nesty. He kind of like predicted the path that 665 was going to have to walk out. He could have chosen like the right side, which was a bit slower, like the wrong side to walk out of. Then the range for the Weaver's Wall wouldn't have affected him. But he just predicted where 665 was going to try and back out of that one, so it does net them that kill along with the Hex Tech. So nicely done from Nesty. Good instincts. DCG are going to rotate over towards Baron also. Oh, this is just so bad for MFT. Oh, they don't get the knockup over the wall, so it's just going to be about half health for Home 2, and I don't think MFT can face check. They cannot face check without the equal.
They don't have the option to flip, right? They don't have a smite available, so they're just going to have to give up the Baron buff. Cascada comes over the wall, and it looks like they want blood. They're going to try and just finish this game straight up here. Finding the fight, they get issue, and they're looking to try and chase down Home 2 as well. They're so close to finishing him off, and they will be able to get the burn to get that kill in Taco. He had such a lead in this 1v1, and unfortunately goes down to
he's gonna die
for that double kill.
The mad lad, he's doing
around, gets himself ACS, will die to Hana in the end. DCG, they take Soul, they take Baron, they take some kills as an after snack. And I mean, yeah, the whole rift's their oyster.
Yikes. Ishii just tried his best, man, and the 2v1 just wasn't quite able to protect his teammate right there. Nisty and Hana with the split push, securing bottom side split 2. And gold lead. 9,000 gold in favor of DCG. DCG have done so well in the last 4 minutes or so, making sure they pick up all the objectives available on the map. They looked at the Spark Dragon, they rotated that into the Baron pickup as well. They've got the split push going down, even Hana just absolutely Chad running it, dive in and pick up the kill onto Leo, and I don't see a timeline where MFT can really come back from this one. Take a look at the fight in mid again.
Yep, we are taking a look at the fight in the mid again. And it was Cascada jumping over the wall with the Yumi. On the side of MFT, they had no answers to the Zeri Yumi. This is why these combinations are so painful to deal with. That goes with the Sivir Yumi as well. It's just when you allow the Yumi to get out of lane like this, Yumi just scales like an absolute behemoth.
Yep.
And
I mean,
MFT, they're struggling, Danny.
Yeah, they're stuck in base right now. They're pretty much locked up in base jail. I don't really.
They're stuck home. They're trapped at home.
That's
you told them you were sending them home.
Man, but Sivir, I mean, Will maybe. Oh, he can't punish the range, and now they're diving. They're diving.
Not quite the fight there, but they will be able to take that top inhib, and now they're turning their attention towards this mid lane. There's so many minions to deal with. It's so hard for MFT. Yes, you have the Sivir wave clear, but now the engage comes in from Hana. Does land the multi-man charm coming in from home too. Not a bad start, but unfortunately, there's just no damage from the rest of the squad. Taco is able to find the 1v1 at long last against Leaky. But that's just the game. Spada throws down Supercharge, and he's just going to electrify the rest of the rifts. That's the fight done. That's going to be game, and it's 4 for 4 for one-sided games today.
Woo. DCG, they're not even trying to pad the KD. They're just trying to fast end this one. They want to go home. They want to get dinner. You can see the player cameras on your screen. I think Hana and Leaky in particular enjoying their performance today. Hana for sure looked like he had fun just playing that diving Sinjao, especially towards the middle of the game. And Leaky, you know, didn't quite have the best performance on the 1v1 win versus Mordekaiser, but it didn't quite matter because the rest of his team just team diffed their way to a DCG victory for them. And I mean, MFT, they had some pretty good ideas, right, coming into this. So they had the Seraphine mid that they pulled out, that's always been in their wheelhouse. They tried the Mordekaiser as well over in the top side. So it looked like, you know, they for sure had a plan coming into this one, but I also think that they were just kind of lane diffed from the start.
Yeah, I mean, the plan was certainly there, right? You saw the idea coming in from draft. The issue was the execution, and that the fact that they were never able to get into one of these dragons. The one dragon that they fought for, the bot lane wasn't set up in a spot that they could help the mid jungle. So Home 2665 kind of left out on an island for that instance, and that allowed Hana to just walk in and go for a 50-50. And the fact that he won it really spelled just everything going down the gutter for MFT, because then they ended up losing Dragon Soul so early. It's just way too punishing for a soul like Hextech. It's just way too much, because you lose that, you lose the Baron, you lose team members. Like, MFT just gave DCG the game on a silver platter.
Yeah, I think the last 10 minutes or so were really not it for MFT. I mean, they started off fine, right? Especially the 1v1 top side. Mordekaiser did look to be promising. It looked like they might be able to have that type of lead going into the team fight where they could then comfortably lock up the Zeri, because at that point, you've already won the 1v1 versus Gwen. You're kind of going to just save your Mordekaiser ultimate for Zeri. So they actually, you know, had a couple of cards that they could play by the time they went into team fight. And that's what I've been talking about MFT throughout this entire summer split, right? They're the kind of the team that does not do well in lane. They're not great in lane. When you see them like come out of laning phase, they're not usually the team with the lead, you know? But when it comes to the team fight, they're usually the team that is able to play that well and then come back into the game. So it's just a bit of a shame that we didn't really see that from them this time around. I think by the time we got to the team fight, it was just way too far behind for them. As you can see, Mordekaiser is still doing a pretty good amount of damage. I mean, we've been giving Gwen a lot of crap for the whole game, but still top in terms of damage out of every member in the game this time around. And there, as you can see, MFT actually had the lead until about the 14-minute mark, and then DCG just making a lot of very good map rotations, objective control, and decisions from the mid-game onwards was really what helped seal the deal from them. Like, DCG gave MFT a couple of options, right? We didn't see Nesty roam around a lot. We didn't really see a lot of like pre-15-minute plays from the side of DCG. So I feel like MFT could have had a shot here.
Yeah, they certainly had the opportunity, right? Especially with this composition of Wukong, Seraphine, definitely a lot of wombo power. And when the Mordekaiser is that far ahead, unfortunately, there was that errant TP into the mid lane where Mordekaiser wasn't able to do anything off of that. And they just lost way too much. Hana gets MVP 6, 0, and 6. 70% kill participation. And of course, he had that key dragon steal and just plenty of plays around the map that really made MFT's life quite miserable.
Hana. In general, like the stat for me when I look at KP is pretty much if it's somewhere like above 70-ish, like that's a really good stat, especially like, you know, for a jungler. It really just shows how much of an impact you're having in all of the lanes, right? In the side lanes as well. So very good job, I think, from the side of Hana. We've always been touting him as just one of the better junglers within the PCS. So definitely props to him. I think that the way this match ended with MFT right now, there's something like 4-9. Yep, they're 4-9 after this loss. It's actually a good thing for BYG in 6th place for 6, 7, and 8 for Impunity as well, because it means that these 6th, 7th, 8th spots are just super close right now, and there's just opportunity for like even 9th place to try and catch up over tomorrow as well as the next week. So here are today's results on the screen. I think CFO beating Douche Team, coming as no surprise to any of our PCS audience. Game versus BYG in what we thought would be a bit of a closer game. It was definitely close at the start versus BYG. Also, there's the standings. You can see top 3 all tied at 11 wins. JT Frank Esports tied 4th place right now with 8 wins, and then towards the bottom, like especially 5, 4, 7, and 2 wins. I think it just leaves a bit more room for the last couple of teams to just snatch one of those playoff spots.
Yeah, and if Impunity can maintain their form and continue building off of those back-to-back wins, yes, it was against teams that you expect them to beat, taking Sem9 and Douche Team. But if they're able to build off of that momentum, they could definitely make a run for BYG's spots. As we're going to see tomorrow matchup, it's going to be MFT taking on Sem9. Yet another opportunity for Sem9 to try and, surprise someone here. And PSG do get the rematch against Frank Esports. Frank Esports, we need to see them be competitive against some of these top teams closing out the season. And then Mega Bank Beyond Gaming taking on Douche Team. And CFO taking on the other J-Team Multiverse org in DCG. That should be a very spicy match.
Yeah, I think definitely the featured match for tomorrow is going to be the last one between CFO as well as DCG, and kind of like the battle of who's going to get the 2nd place. PSG, their game, versus MFT, I feel like because PSG didn't have a game today, So this can either go one of two ways, right? They either come into tomorrow super rested, or they come into tomorrow just like Bing chilling, hands off keyboard, like smooth brain. Like sometimes, unified, like
Smooth
unified,
brain.
what are you doing? So I'm not sure like how
Okay.
today's break is going to affect PSG, but I mean,
All
it's
right.
PSG, right? In PCS, we still got like supreme confidence that PSG will do well. So yeah, definitely some pretty exciting matchups for tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
even though, again, because J Team's matches were postponed, we're still only going to see 4 games.
Yep. And just a reminder for those who don't know, we are only 4 games this week. All of J Team's games will be moved to next week. So we've got 6 game days next week. But that's all for us here today. That's day 2 done, dusted. You just saw the day 3 matchup. So if you want to see those matchups, come back to the stream same time tomorrow. You won't want to miss it.